Now, I know that there are some people who absolutely will not believe that Wack 100 was hit with a lawsuit, especially for defamation. People been saying T Grizzly should have hit him for defamation with the fake paperwork. It's a couple of other situations where he's pretty much opened himself up to some civil liability, but for some reason, people never take action. And I think this is what bolsters Wack 100's position, because he's like 1090 Jake. They say, well, if I'm lying, sue me, and it's, I believe that they do that because they think people don't want to sue because they have skeletons that they don't want to come out. If you say you suing somebody for defamation and they come back and say, well, it's true, then you have to prove that it's not true in order for your defamation claim to stand. So that's the strategy I see them using when they say, well, if I'm lying, sue me. In this case, though, it looks like Wack 100's challenge has been accepted. As y'all can see, Blake versus Jones, the complaint has been filed. It's already in. It's going down. Now, of course, there are a lot of formalities when it comes to this lawsuit process. So as we go over this paperwork, we're going to be covering everything like this, the actual complaint page, the first page, just to show y'all it's real. They got the Pacer numbers, they got the case numbers listed up top. You can find this on the Pacer website, actually. It shows you the amount Byron Blake is asking for, $500,000, or an amount to be determined amount to be determined in excess of $75,000. Now, when it gets to the actual statement of facts, he says that he wants $400,000 in punitive damages and a $100,000 compensatory award because of the loss of his channel. And like I said, it goes into the actual complaint and the statement of facts. And that's where we get to see what the real issue is. What's the real argument? What's the bottom line when it comes to this lawsuit? If I'm going to be honest with y'all, this is quite interesting, because a lot of the things that are listed in this lawsuit, in this statement of facts, we knew about, but I don't think they were characterized as they are now. This kind of opens your eyes to what exactly has been going on around here on this internet, in these YouTube streets, as they like to call it, right? So, without wasting any more time, let's get to it. Now, this says that the plaintiff, who is Byron Blake, owned, managed, and operated a commercial digital content business on the YouTube platform via his channel named Byron Blake, which he managed primarily from his home residence in St. Charles County, Missouri. Plaintiff also maintains a public digital business presence on the Instagram platform under the verified handle @official Byron Blake. Plaintiff's YouTube channel and news reporting primarily focused on analyzing and publishing public records, court paperwork, and digital media surrounding hip-hop culture, including verified public records demonstrating defendant Cash Jones's interactions with law enforcement. Prior to June 21st, 2026, public evidence became available demonstrating that Cash Jones was actively providing and orchestrating the provision of information to law enforcement agencies. Following the emergence of this verifiable evidence, plaintiff publicly referred to defendant as an informant, which means Blake publicly referred to Cash Jones as an informant. Cash Jones, aka Wack 100, based entirely on the underlying factual records. On June 21st, 2026, in direct retaliation, defendant Cash Jones published a widely distributed post on his verified Instagram account, tagging the plaintiff's exact business handle and stating textually, "Official Byron Blake X. We have 3 more on the list. Young Aunt Hefe honored my request, so he's safe as of now. Sincerely, the exposers. Took me 6 months to put this team together. We couldn't match your lies, so we're playing it dirty. best 10,000 I've ever spent. Through this widely distributed publication, defendant falsely accused plaintiff of being a liar regarding the factual law enforcement records, knowingly published an absolute falsehood to damage plaintiff's professional integrity. On that exact same day, June 21st, 2026, plaintiff's commercial YouTube channel, Byron Blake, was suddenly and completely terminated by the platform. Through his explicit written admission, defendant confirmed that he hired and paid a $10,000 bounty to an illicit cyber coordination squad, coined the Exposers, to play it dirty, execute bad faith takedowns, and successfully orchestrate the targeted deletion and removal of plaintiff's channel. On July 12, 2026, defendant Cash Jones appeared as a featured guest on the broadcast The Adam 22 and Wack 100 show on the No Jumper YouTube network. During this public broadcast, defendant openly boasted about and detailed his malicious business strategy of weaponizing false reporting mechanisms to financially destroy his targets online, explicitly stating, "YouTube land, this ain't the streets. Over here we meta banging. This is the metaverse. So if you want to sit behind a camera and run fake narratives and play keyboard warrior, then I can launch meta nukes. I can meta snatch your shit in a meta major way." Defendant further confirmed on the broadcast that his express intent in deploying these bad faith campaigns is to inflict severe economic ruin, stating openly, "Hurting his pockets hurt different. Some of these people ain't no off limits because when you go to talking crazy, it's on. So what? I blew your shit up." Defendant Cash Jones has a documented, publicly admitted history of using digital platforms to aggressively combat, suppress, and manipulate public narratives whenever individuals publish paperwork linking him to federal agencies or law enforcement. In a public interview broadcasted on the Vlad TV media network, defendant explicitly discussed how he handles allegations of law enforcement cooperation and federal wiretaps, stating openly that his practice when dealing with exposers is to look at how they play the game and play the game back. Defendant further admitted in the same Vlad TV broadcast that when federal law enforcement agents or investigators contact him, his strict pattern of conduct is to immediately record and leak the scenarios onto the internet within 24 hours, specifically to dictate public narratives, preemptively screaming that allegations against him are lies or fake to manipulate his audience. On or about November 9th, 2022, defendant Cash Jones publicly released a recorded telephone conversation between himself and an agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which was subsequently published widely across cyberspace networks. During this recorded phone call, the investigating FBI agent explicitly questioned defendant regarding his public multi-platform disputes, text streams, and online disagreements with industry figures, stating to defendant, "We were provided information that possibly something went beyond that, and so we're just calling you to clarify and make sure that you haven't been threatened regarding the disputes that you've had over social media, over YouTube, over Instagram, and all of that." In response to the federal investigator on that call, defendant openly discussed his public disputes, personal knowledge of ongoing music industry legal affairs, confirming his baseline pattern of behavior of directly communicating with federal agencies regarding online conflicts. Defendant's own published audio archives explicitly prove that he has a long-standing active communications channel with law enforcement regarding social media disputes, demonstrating that his public leaks are strategically utilized to control narratives. On or about March 17, 2025, an official federal criminal complaint was filed in United States District Court for the Central District of California under case number 225 MJ 01494, duty, titled United States of America versus Eugene Henley, also known as Big U. Page 52 of the official federal court documents explicitly names and transcribes defendant Cash Jones participating in a public media broadcast where he breaks down and explains the extortion, manipulation, and robbery tactics used by Henley against various victims, specifically stating, you know why he wanted to give dude back the 40, right? Because he was going to make the dude give him 20 for getting it back. A true and correct copy of this specific page 52 is attached here too as Exhibit A. The federal government explicitly relied upon, cited, and incorporated defendant Cash Jones's detailed analytical statements within the body of their official criminal complaint to corroborate their active RICO and extortion investigation into the targeted criminal enterprise. Plaintiff's public reporting and commentary accurately summarized these exact court records, stating that defendant Cash Jones acted as an informant by utilizing an unconventional open source reporting method, specifically going on to highly publicized podcasts to intentionally broadcast investigative facts, criminal methods, and insider information with the knowledge and expectation that law enforcement agencies monitor and ingest those broadcasts for prosecution. This open source investigative funnel is further corroborated by recorded telephone conversations orchestrated and subsequently leaked by defendant Cash Jones involving an individual named Williams, quote unquote, and a cooperating federal witness designated as Victim 1, quote unquote. Specifically, on a public broadcast network, defendant published and participated in a recorded multi-party telephone conversation involving himself, the individual known as Williams, and the cooperating federal witness designated as Victim 1. During this multi-party phone transmission, defendant Cash Jones actively directed the flow of conversation, manipulating the dialogue to extract specific incriminating details regarding Eugene Big U Henley's criminal operations. On a subsequent public broadcast, defendant Cash Jones explicitly and subjectively admitted on tape that he was a direct participant in the aforementioned telephone conversation with Williams and Victim 1. Defendant Cash Jones has publicly admitted that Victim 1 explicitly confided in him that he was actively cooperating with law enforcement to secure an indictment against Henley. Despite having subjective knowledge that Victim 1 was actively cooperating with the government, defendant Cash Jones intentionally orchestrated the telephone call to extract statements framing Henley as the sole individual responsible for the underlying criminal act. So you set up this call knowing that this dude was doing this. Defendant Cash Jones then published this orchestrated recording to the internet, tracking his established pattern of using open source channels to deliver actionable investigative material to federal agencies while publicly masking his cooperation as social media content. Because the official federal court record in case number 225 MJ01494 duty explicitly confirms that the federal government used defendants' public statements to build their criminal case, plaintiffs labeling defendant as an informant or cooperator were entirely true and legally protected. Defendant Cash Jones possessed full knowledge of his own recorded audio admissions and federal court citations. He maliciously published the June 21st, 2026 statement branding plaintiff a liar solely as a defamatory device to shield his street persona, activate his paid squad, the exposers, and tortiously destroy plaintiff's commercial YouTube asset. Defendant's public admissions on Vlad TV and No Jumper directly establish his subjective motive and intent to target the plaintiff because plaintiff possessed and discussed verifiable evidence demonstrating defendant's cooperation with law enforcement. Defendant deployed his paid squad, fabricating the narrative that plaintiff was a liar and permanently sabotaged plaintiff's business to stop the dissemination of his records. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's statement branding plaintiff a liar, third-party platform users, subscribers, and digital network moderators actually altered their perception of plaintiff's integrity and honesty, believing plaintiff to be a systematic fabricator of news. The widespread dissemination of defendants' malicious falsehood directly triggered a wave of massive bad faith reporting by platform users, acting as a direct mechanism that caused the instant permanent termination of plaintiff's commercial YouTube asset, Byron Blake. Following the publication of defendants' defamatory statements and the subsequent destruction of his channel, valid business affiliates, content networks, and digital advertising sponsors refused to continue association with plaintiff, citing the public allegations of fabrication and professional dishonesty. The financial impact of this reputational destruction is concrete, measurable, and severe. The permanent deletion of the Byron Blake channel instantly cut off plaintiffs' verified monthly monetization revenues, digital sponsorships, and ongoing business expectancies, inflicting non-speculative economic damages well in excess of $75,000. My bad, y'all. But anyway, it gets into the counts. Count 1 is defamation. And it discusses how, the facts alleged through 1 through 41 are true. And defendant falsely stated that the plaintiff is a liar and admitted to spending $10,000 to coordinate a campaign to play it dirty. Defendant knew his public branding of plaintiff was as a liar was false. It goes into count 2, which is civil conspiracy. Defendant entered into a deliberate agreement in combination with 2 or more individuals known as the exposers to accomplish an unlawful and tortious purpose, the bad faith destruction of plaintiff's business assets, and the publication of malicious defamation. Defendant performed a calculated overt act in furtherance of this conspiracy by funding the operational activities of this group with a documented $10,000 financial payment. As a direct result of this conspiracy, plaintiff's commercial YouTube channel was terminated and his professional reputation was severely damaged, resulting in actual economic injuries exceeding $75,000. Tortious interference with business relations. Plaintiff maintained valid business relationships, monetization agreements, and clear business expectancies. Y'all see it, man. Defendant's interference was executed entirely through improper and tortious means, specifically actionable defamation, malicious falsehoods, and civil conspiracy. Defendant utilized improper and anti-competitive means to suppress commercial reporting regarding his public records, intentionally using economic destruction to eliminate plaintiff's digital platform as a competitor in the digital media and recording space. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's improper interference, plaintiff's valid business relationships were severed. Economic damage exceeding $75,000, financial damage. So, long story short, as much as Wack hates the label, it sounds very much like he is an informant. The feds are using, and just look at this timeline. The feds contact you in 2022. According to Wack 100, the feds contacted him in 2022 because they heard Big U and J. Prince Sr. plotting on him on a hot phone. In 2023, Wack, knowing that the feds are monitoring social media and actively watching him to make sure he's not harmed because they believe he's been threatened, decided to take Loose Cannon onto No Jumper to discuss Big U, who he was aware of. He knew that they were investigating Big U. 1, because Big Dale told him that he was cooperating against them, but 2, because they called him in 2022. And at that point, the investigation had been going on for over a year. So, that they are being investigated, and then you take Loose Cannon, who you had participated in a phone call with Big Dale, up to No Jumper, and y'all go on this platform and discuss these criminal activities that nobody has been charged with as of yet. If you listen to the phone call, Loose Cannon states that he had already been picked up by the feds regarding this incident. Now, it doesn't make sense to me to deny it to the feds, but then go on No Jumper and confess to everything. But I believe that this was part of their strategy to shift all of the blame to Big U. Like, okay, we know that they getting ready to come, so I'm not going to go on record and say these things about Big U in the interrogation room, because then I'm really a documented snitch. But I'll go on No Jumper and say all of this stuff and just leave it up to them whether to grab it or not. And that's what happened, bro. They went on No Jumper. They said all of this stuff, and the feds came and used it in the indictment. As alleged in this complaint, the feds used Wack 100's words to corroborate their theory. Basically saying, on that No Jumper episode, Wack laid out the exact strategy that Big U used. This is a former Big U affiliate, somebody who would have knowledge of this. They didn't say those words, but we know what they was doing. And Wack thinks everybody is slow or stupid, so he's going to say, well, where did it say I told them something? And you told it to them when you went on No Jumper and said it. Open source reporting. You knew that they were watching you on the internet, and you decided to go on the internet and discuss these criminal activities. In my opinion, with hopes that they catch this information and use it. And they did. That's just my opinion on it, though. We'll see how the courts view this. And we also get to see, what's real and what's fake. There's been a lot of speculation about Wack 100 and that phone call with the federal agents. If that phone call is true, then you are absolutely an informant. Because you on that phone call, you confirmed that you were having a business dispute with Jay Prince, and that it had gotten heated, and that some words that were non-business like were exchanged. You confirmed that. You said, oh no, I ain't got no threats or nothing like that. But that doesn't change that alone is informing, because you are still participating in the conversation. You provided them information about who owned the interview. You provided them information about who owned Larry Hoover's life rights. Whether they knew that information or not is not relevant to the fact that you provided that information. If they knew the information, then that means you corroborated the information that they already had, which would still mean that you are an informant by informant standards. This is a criminal investigation, and you are providing and corroborating evidence. That's just my take on it. But we'll see. Like I said, we let this go through the court process and see how it plays out. But just in case y'all were wondering or thinking that it was a game, it's not. Wack 100 has been hit with a lawsuit, and we'll see how it goes. With that said, I'm going to wrap this one up. Hit that hype button before you get up out of here. Hit that like button before you get up out of here, man. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that YouTube stuff. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm out.